Coming from democracydocket.com. The legal challenges to Elon Musk's DOGE explained. Once again, if this is supposed to be, an arm of the federal government, why is everybody saying it's I know. But ever since President Donald Trump announced in November that he was creating something called the Department of Government Efficiency, cheekily shorthanded as DOGE, and it would be run by billionaire Elon Musk, it's drawn intense skepticism and scrutiny, and a whole lot of blind loyalty, even though it hasn't been properly defined, and he backs up nothing that he says. But hey, when you take over by force a social media platform and turn it into an incel racist wet dream, I guess they'll follow you. I guess that's their field of dreams. You Heil Hitler, they'll come. For starters, a president can't just create a new federal agency via executive order. That can only happen through an act of Congress. Then what is DOGE? In essence, what Trump did is rename the United States Digital Service, created with the executive order, the executive office of the president under Barack Obama, to improve all federal and executive websites, into DOGE, and retooled its mission to hunt down fraud and waste within federal agencies. Of course he did. Of course, he is going to find a way to either dismantle or take credit for everything Obama did. Like, I'm waiting for him to just rename the ACA Trump Care. Naturally, chaos and uncertainty ensued. What authority does DOGE actually have? Are attempts to gain access to sensitive and classified data from federal agencies legal? And what can be done about it? Can DOGE even exist? The short answer is we don't know yet. The method of creating DOGE via executive order and its authority is the subject of a trio of lawsuits filed January 20th, the day Trump returned to the White House. The three lawsuits, one filed by the progressive consumer rights advocacy group Public Citizen, another by the pro-democracy organization Democracy Forward, and a third by the public interest firm National Security Counselors, allege that DOGE shouldn't be considered a federal agency, but rather an advisory committee. I've been telling y'all, it is a volunteer-based think tank. That's why its subcommittee had its first meeting yesterday. Its congressional subcommittee had its first meeting yesterday, after Musk has spent since January 20th going in after business hours and on the weekend doing what he did. But it's all about transparency, right? They argue that not setting up DOGE as an advisory committee violates the Federal Advisory Committee Act of 1972, which, among other requirements, states that all meetings are public record and that its membership be fairly balanced in its points of view. He doesn't want that. He wants racist minions without a fully developed frontal lobe. The U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, filed a motion to consolidate all three lawsuits, but otherwise, there's been no movement. I just bet they did. And the people who would advise as to whether or not this is a good idea and handle that for the government, they're being 86'd. So the ones with the knowledge are on the side of the people still. DOGE attacks the Education, Labor, and Treasury departments. I'm going to let you think on that for a minute. Is that really for the people? In the meantime, DOGE continues to wreak havoc on the federal workforce. On Monday, personnel with DOGE requested sensitive personal information and financial information from the Department of the Treasury. In response, Public Citizen filed a lawsuit on behalf of two federal unions and a nonprofit organization to block DOGE from accessing the requested Treasury information. The scale of the intrusion into individuals' privacy is massive and unprecedented, the lawsuit said. People who must share information with the federal government should not be forced to share information with Elon Musk or his DOGE, and federal law says they do not have to. Until a federal judge rules on a motion for a preliminary injunction, the DOJ agreed to restrict DOGE Treasury access, save for 2 DOGE-affiliated special Treasury employees who were granted read-only access to payment records. They don't even know what the fuck they're looking at, but okay. Shortly after the agreement was reached, one of the DOGE Treasury employees named in the order resigned after past racist social media posts were discovered. And then the vice president was like, no, we support him, bring him back. And Elon Musk was like, yeah, we're going to bring him back. And Trump was like, yeah, I support whatever Elon says. So y'all still think that Trump is in charge? And if this is about auditing, why are they keeping it secret as to who's doing what? Shouldn't they be working hand in hand so people can explain to them why this is going here, why this is being done this way? And they can sit down and go, hey, here's a more efficient way of doing it. This is a way of cutting costs. Why do you have so many people here doing this job? You know? And I mean, cutting employees, what have we learned from social services? What have we learned, class? What have we learned? A similar lawsuit was filed Wednesday by Democracy Forward on behalf of a coalition of more federal unions against DOGE to block access to Department of Labor, DOL, data. According to the lawsuit, some DOL staffers were ordered to give DOGE access to whatever they asked for or risk losing their jobs. Doesn't sound like there's transparency or auditing going on. Because if you feel that somebody's being fraudulent, it's best to catch them right in front of their face. Where are the prosecutions? Where are the warrants? Where's the investigations into these people? Because there's no fraud. You fuck twaddle. DOGE seeks to gain access to sensitive systems before courts can stop them, dismantle agencies before Congress can assert its prerogatives in the federal budget, and intimidate and threaten employees who stand in their way, worrying about the consequences later, the lawsuit said. Now, I also want y'all to think about something. Magadonians have no problem lying to gain credence within the MAGA movement. Isn't it funny that there's no widespread amount of MAGA adjacent or MAGA supporting federal employees coming out going, yeah, I'm down with DOGE. I support it because blah, 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 blah is fraudulent and they're wasting your money here. They're not saying none of that. And you want to know why they're not speaking up and lying like they did during COVID when people were pretending to be doctors or nurses saying that they approved this and their family survived because they did X, Y, and Z and they knew that they were fucking lying to you, but they didn't care if you died as long as you spent their money? Is because these people's jobs are on the line. And they know that those lies that they told before were a bridge too fucking far. And if they keep up the lies to gain clout in MAGA, there's not enough coin left over to sustain them with the grift when they lose their jobs. I want you to keep that in mind. Both the plaintiffs and the government struck a similar agreement to the one in the Treasury lawsuit, agreeing to block DOGE from accessing DOL data until a federal judge rules on the case, which is expected to come Friday afternoon. DOGE's sweeping campaign to access highly sensitive information and unilaterally dismantle federal agencies is unlawful and must be stopped, Sky Perryman, president and CEO of Democracy Forward, said in a statement. The court must not allow DOGE to seize control of the highly sensitive personal data held within the Department of Labor and Bureau of Labor Statistics. We will use every tool available to prevent this hostile takeover of yet another critical federal agency. On Friday, Public Citizen filed yet another lawsuit to block DOGE's effort to gain access to sensitive Department of Education, ED, data. The lawsuit said that DOGE's access to information like student loans and financial aid data violates federal law, specifically the Administrative Procedures Act and Privacy Act. The scale of the intrusion into individuals' privacy is enormous and unprecedented, the lawsuit says. The personal data of over 42 million people lives in these systems. These are people who trusted ED with their sensitive personal information when they filled out the FAFSA and applied for federal student loans and grants in reliance on the agency's rules and other representations. The things that are being cut, how is that going to make the government more efficient? How is that going to make things run better? Quickly, Linda, quickly.